It's opening day for Tesla and its electric car factory near Berlin. After 2 years of construction, Tesla's first European factory delivers its first cars today. The Berlin-Brandenburg Gigafactory could soon be building 500,000 cars per year. Tesla is also building a battery factory nearby. Berlin is Tesla's fourth car factory. Its first plant in California went into operation in California in 2010. It also opened a factory in 2016 in the Nevada desert. Then came its Shanghai plant in 2019. Berlin-Brandenburg factory opening today here in 2022. Up next, a new Gigafactory will be opening in Austin, Texas, hopefully soon. Now we'll talk to our correspondent who is there at the Berlin-Brandenburg factory in a moment. But first, let's take a look at this project.
This was a forest just 2 years ago, but it was cleared to make way for a massive construction site. Europe's largest factory for electric cars was built on 3 square kilometers of land just outside Berlin. Tesla invested billions of euros into the project. Construction has been quick by German standards, but with some hitches. The factory was built at the company's own risk without waiting for a final building permit. Environmental protests forced Tesla to change plans. A dispute remains about the factory's water supplies. All of these were a source of frustration for Tesla.
I think there could be less bureaucracy. That would be better.
Construction was supposed to be completed in summer 2021, but it took until March this year for that final building permit to arrive, spread out over 23,000 documents.
The notice of approval for this project has been handed over to Tesla today.
Now it can get started. 500,000 cars can be built here per year, with 12,000 employees once everything is fully operational. The factory could help Europe take a significant step away from petroleum and throws down the gauntlet to other car makers to go electric.
DW's Stephen Beardsley is at the factory gates. He joins me now. Stephen, Tesla, the biggest name in electric vehicles, but Germany also has a lot of more traditional car makers like Volkswagen that are getting very serious about electromobility. What will this factory mean for competition?
Well, Chelsea, Tesla built this factory here, this massive production hall you see behind me, for the same reason that Volkswagen or Audi or BMW builds in markets where it's selling. That's, for example, in the U.S. or in China. It's basically a better investment of their capital to serve those markets. Now, the Model Ys that are going to be built here were coming from places like Shanghai, from a car factory in California. Now they can be built here, they can be sold in this market. That's a massive cost reduction for Tesla. It allows them to be here in Europe where they see a growing market. Now, you mentioned some of the competitors, Volkswagen, Audi. They are really kicking up their efforts with EVs. Volkswagen almost doubling its sales in 1 quarter alone of EVs last year. It's on 80% increase over the whole year. So it's coming on fast. But right now, Tesla is the world leader. And in things like software, in things like production methods, in managerial style, it is sort of more the modern car maker. It's seen that way by a lot of experts, including some of the leaders in the car industry, including Herbert Diess, who leads Volkswagen. He's made it very clear that his plan is to try and take over Tesla in the coming years, but that's still going to take a while. Tesla right now is the world leader, and with this hall that it's opening right now, this is another big step forward for the producer.
So Stephen, Tesla did want to open this factory as early as last summer, but as we heard in the report, they've faced a lot of bureaucracy. How big of an issue is that for companies, building factories here in Germany?
Well, for Tesla, this factory comes about 6 months later than they had hoped for. They had hoped that October as a realistic date for it to open. Now, originally, as you mentioned, summer was what was being eyed. But then Tesla came back and said that they wanted to build a battery production facility as well. And that lengthened this process for receiving approval. Now, it only took 2.5 years to build this. I say only because in Germany, that's actually a very good timeline. And a lot of officials and a lot of politicians are looking at Tesla and this approval process as perhaps the way to move forward to try and speed up some major projects, as you mentioned, that they're eyeing in the future. You know, you look at right now with energy concerns, with the need to build LNG terminals, with the need to build renewable energy, the approval process is considerably long here in Germany. They want to see it sped up, and Tesla might be something like a blueprint for that.
So, Stephen, this factory also faced a lot of resistance, particularly from environmental groups. Is the community around the factory now satisfied?
I think it depends which community we're talking about. When you look at Brandenburg in general, this is a region outside of Berlin that's very thinly populated. It hasn't had as many industrial plants here, industrial employers here that might offer jobs like in other parts of Germany. So this is very much welcome from a job perspective. The local community has been a little upset about water issues here, and that will continue to be a problem. This facility is going to need the water of about a 40,000 population city per year. So that is something that is going to take a massive resource from this area. It's probably going to require more wells to be dug for residents of this area. But the officials here say that the water is there and that it's not a problem. So that has been an issue. There were also some concerns about raising this area for the factory, but for the most part, that's been put to the side, and many of the questions have been answered.
Stephen Beardsley, thanks so much. Now, Tesla is just one example of the big foreign companies who flocked to Europe's biggest economy in recent years. Take a look at some of the others.
This battery factory opened its doors in 2021 in Skellefteå in northern Sweden. It is the first of its kind to be built by a European company. The Swedish company, Northvolt, may only have been in business since 2016, but it plans to build a battery factory in northern Germany, thanks to the region's eco-friendly power production. And the company can expect substantial government help. Germany needs new batteries to power its pivot towards green energy. There are also big plans for Magdeburg in eastern Germany. US chip manufacturer Intel wants to spend 17 billion euros in the region to open 2 new factories that would employ 3,000 people. And it's banking on European Union subsidies to the tune of several billion euros. Construction is due to start next year. Both announcements are likely to give Germany's economy a major boost. In the last several years, the amount of direct investment in Germany has been continually increasing, raising some 10% over the last 5 years. With the majority of it coming from the United States, carmaker Ford has been working in Germany since 1926. Now it's shifting its production to electric cars and spending $2 billion to do it. At this factory near Cologne, 2 new models will hit the roads starting in 2024.
I'm joined now by Robert Herrmann from Germany Trade and Invest, which is the government's economic promotion agency. Robert, thanks so much for being here. So Germany has been criticized for a long time for being too slow, too bureaucratic, to attract, foreign investment. Is that narrative starting to change?
Of course, I think we have seen that through the settlement of Tesla's, or the decision of Tesla to locate a manufacturing plant in Brandenburg, and you see that by the investment decisions of the just mentioned Intel and Northvolt. So there is a clear sign for the opportunities for large companies to settle manufacturing activities into Germany.
You mentioned Tesla. We're talking a lot today about Tesla since it is the grand opening of that factory outside of Berlin. Elon Musk has been quite critical of German bureaucracy. They wanted to open that factory about a year ago almost. Does a very public example like that of sort of administrative bureaucratic delays scare other companies away from Germany?
I think it might even be the opposite. So I think Tesla has proven that you can have approval processes done in 2 years for such a huge investment. That's outstanding for, I would even say, Europe. So it's a very, very good sign for the administration and reliable administration in Germany. And I think Pat Gelsinger has mentioned that in his, the CEO of Intel has mentioned that in his speech last Tuesday, that he very much appreciates the reliable administration processes and administration in Germany. So Tesla, as well as CATL, a battery manufacturer that has located their manufacturing plant to Thuringia, also 2-3 years ago, show that the administration processes are competitive.
So you mentioned Intel there, another big win for Germany as an investment location. The German government reportedly is giving Intel around 5 billion euros in subsidies. Why should taxpayer money be given to these big corporations to attract them here?
The benefit that the German economy is getting, and even the European economy is getting out of those projects, those very large projects, it's much higher than the amount of incentives and subsidies paid by the German government. If you see the whole infrastructure, the ecosystem that is expected around such a huge investment, with thousands of jobs, Intel published that they will create another 10,000 jobs indirect to their investment activities. So the benefit coming out of those projects is much higher than the amount paid for starting such an activity. And you have to also consider subsidies are part of investing internationally. So the amount that is paid in Europe and in Germany this time is not that high as it would be in, for example, Korea, Taiwan, China, or United States. So I think that is part of attracting, that is part of developing sustainable future technologies in regions. And I think that's part of the commitment of the government to support those developments.
Just briefly, if you can, a key strategy for the new German government, also for the EU, is making us less dependent on technology from the US or Asia. What needs to be done to achieve that?
I think the framework that I just mentioned, the incentive scheme, the clear focus on certain industry sectors is very important. And the European Commission is focusing on certain aspects. The German government is focusing on certain industry topics. So a clear focus is helpful. Mm-hmm. The German government decided on developing a sustainable energy supply, for example. So the clear focus is relevant.
Albert Hamann, I think we're going to have to leave it there. Sorry, we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us.